Tech News Weekly is sponsored by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks, with more than 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature. And by Stitcher Radio. Listen on the go via the Stitcher mobile app. For more information, go to Stitcher.com/GFQ.
Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm Andrew Zarian, and this is the show where we fill you in on all the top tech news for the week. I'm joined by Eric Lanigan. How you doing, Eric?
Hey, Andrew. I'm good. How's it going?
We're doing some trouble support here at the network. We got a new audio system that we're still working out the kinks. We're trying to kind of match everybody up audio-wise, and I'm having a little issue here, Eric.
Oh, that's part of the fun, right? It's part of the great experiment.
Fun, yes. A lot of fun. That's what Eric chooses to call it. Suncast is also here with us. Suncast, would you call it fun?
Yeah, I measure fun by how much hair you pull out in clumps. So I'm a little bit different in my definition.
Oh, okay. If that's the case, yes, a lot of fun. How you
We're
doing?
all going to be sufferers again.
Yes, a lot of us are going to be hair loss sufferers here.
A little inside joke for other people that watch our shows.
How you doing, Suncast?
It's weird because it's almost been like a month since I've done a show here.
Yeah, you
And
were
that's
away.
really weird.
What happened? You were gone one week. I did it with Eric. We were off another week. Where have you been?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I went to a concert for a band that was disbanded, but they got back together about a year ago, and now they're playing shows again. So, of course, I had to go see them now that they're playing shows again. And I feel like one of these older guys, you grew up listening to this band when you were a child, and then they disbanded because they got older and they got lives, and now you're older, and they've reunited, and it's just weird because I'm old now.
Yeah, you are old.
It's like when
your
your parents listened to
ancient.
Bon Jovi as a kid, and now they're going and seeing Bon Jovi in their 40s and 50s, and it's just like, oh man, I'm one of those guys.
That's what's happening, dude. That's what happens. So we learned that Suncast took off, not for like a family emergency or anything like that, but he took off to go to a concert. That's really good to know. I'm going to file that one away. But a lot has happened over the last couple days with technology. Of course, we had Black Friday last week. We didn't do a show. Obviously, I needed a couple days to recover from all the eating I did on Thursday. But anybody do Black Friday shopping? Did you order anything on Black Friday before we get into the news? I'm just curious because every person that I asked this question to, they pretty much said, no, I did not go Black Friday shopping this year.
I didn't do Black Friday, but I did do Cyber Monday.
You did do Cyber Monday.
Sort of.
Okay, but nothing, no like no like TVs or computers or tablets.
No.
How about you, Eric?
No, not at all. I think the last couple of years I bought some hard drives and stuff. Mostly this year I wasn't looking for stuff, and it's become such a marketing gimmick. I mean, Black Friday now starts in October.
It does, yeah.
The entire month of November is now known as Black Friday. It's gotten so it's meaningless.
You know what I've noticed with Black Friday? The TV, like for example, they'll be like, oh my God, this crazy deal, 60-inch Samsung HD TV for only $300. And you look at the specs, and it has one HDMI port. It's 720p. It's not the latest and the greatest. It's probably a couple years old, and they've knocked it down because it's sitting in a warehouse.
One they have in the store.
It's the last one that they have like 3.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel sorry for those. You see those people on the news saying like, if you bump me in line again, I will stab you. It's like I feel sorry for those people because they don't understand the powerful marketing forces that are fooling them into thinking they're saving money.
I just don't understand why people do it. That's the thing that baffles me. I mean, you could find a great deal throughout the year, but if it's too good to be true, guess what? It's a little too good to be true. You're going to be waiting online. You're going to be fighting for the stupid TV that you're probably not going to get.
Here's how you shop.
Years ago.
Here's how you shop for electronics. You download the free plugin called The Tractor. I think this has been my pick before in the show. That tracks Amazon prices for everything from 3 months, 6 months, up to a year. You can view a graph that I guess they track. So, for instance, on Black Friday, there were some sales. Like it said, like, oh, yeah, here's a video game for 50 cents. And I went and looked at it, and it's like, well, because of the graph that The Tractor shows, it shows that's not a price decrease at all. It's always been like that. Or similarly, you can see that at some previous sale a few months ago, it dipped down even lower than today's Black Friday price. So I was like, well, forget that.
Well, that's the amazing thing, how people don't understand that it's not this one-time, it's not this deal that you're going to really want. I mean, I guess they do it for a couple of products, but to me, it's nothing attractive to want to get these products.
I think all three of us would rather research and figure out what it is that we really want and actually pay for what we really want than take a chance on something that seems like it might be a deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I am. I'd rather research it and to kind of hold back on what I'm buying. And, I end up paying like $100 more than I would have, but at least I know it's the product that I really wanted.
And I think the internet has really changed our ability to comparison shop and to shop for the lowest price. And even just forces like Amazon, which, any given product on any given day is probably cheaper on Amazon than at your local store, even if your local store is a Walmart or something.
No, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about pricing. We're talking about deals, and we're talking about products that have been out. I mentioned tablets. The Microsoft Surface came out about a month ago, and they finally released the RT version. And now they finally released their Windows 8 Pro version of it, and included pricing and shipment dates. The pricing starts at $899 for the 64 gig version, shipping in January, and it's also half the battery life of the RT. I'm really baffled on why someone would get the Surface over something like the ATIV that's much better than the Samsung device. And it's, it comes with it's pretty much a laptop, and you take the screen off and you walk around with it, and when you're ready to dock, you just dock it up again. I'm just really curious on why someone would pick up the Surface Windows 8 Pro over any number of the other manufacturers that are creating these hybrid devices. At a fraction of the cost. I mean, you're talking $599, $699 for those devices, and you're getting a lot more.
They might be using it as partly a flagship device, a sort of like the best case scenario, sort of like how Google has done. But yeah, the pricing does seem extra high. What did you say? The ATIV?
ATIV or TIV.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. I assume it's Intel based or x86.
Intel based, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's obviously that's pretty much the only reason that a person would spend that kind of money would be to get a laptop. This would be sort of a laptop replacement that is also a Windows RT device.
Yeah, here it is. Look at this thing. I mean, this is the ATIV. I don't know if you can see it on the feed yet.
So does that actually detach? The screen detaches from the keyboard body?
Yeah, it does.
And what else do you lose when you do that? Is there any kind of CPU or storage in there?
I'm not too sure. Let me find out here, because I think it's Intel based.
I don't like the name though. That's something that I've never liked. It's basically Vita spelled backwards, and I don't know. We just had that whole thing when we first learned about the RT. It was like, how do you say it, and why is this Vita spelled backwards?
Okay, so they have multiple versions. They have the ATIV Smart PC Pro, which I believe is probably the Windows 8 version. They have the ATIV Smart PC, which is probably the RT version. And then they have the Tab, which is only the tablet. Oh, no. It is Windows 8. No. It's Windows 8, the ATIV Smart PC and the ATIV PC Pro. They're both Windows 8 devices, and I believe it's $699.
That's pretty good.
And it comes with a keyboard.
That's
the whole thing that I don't get about the information that was released about the Windows Surface Pro versions is that they're charging you $899 for the 64 gigabyte model, and it has half the battery life of the RT version, and it doesn't even come with a keyboard. Now they say that you should compare it's more like an Ultrabook than it is tablet, but I don't see that when they're not selling it with any sort of keyboard. You had to pay another $120. $120 for another keyboard to go with it.
So you had
that is interesting.
If you're buying this Pro version, you of course want the keyboard, right? No, you got to spend another $120. So you're already spending $900. So this puts it over $1,000 just for the base model.
You'd almost assume that they're not trying to be competitive, that it's only sort of a threat and not a real threat, but more of a bluff to the other manufacturers saying, hey, if you don't step up your game, we'll get into the market too. But not really being a competitive threat.
Yeah, I wonder if that's really what it really came down to is, look, listen, this is the devices that you guys should be building. It shouldn't be flooded with crap on there. We don't want any customization on there. We just want a pure Windows experience. And if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it, and we're going to sell it too. And
$900 and you don't even get a keyboard.
You don't get a keyboard. No, you don't get a keyboard. Listen, I think they're cool devices. Unfortunately for me, all my Windows machines are production machines, and I can't install Windows 8 on them because there's a driver issue that I have, and I need the specific driver on all these computers. So I'm still in Windows 7. I have older Windows 8 laptops. I have no reason to put I have older Windows 7 laptops. I have no reason to put Windows 8 on there. So I'm still out in the dark. I bought it. I'm just waiting to put it on a computer. So I think this holiday season I'm going to purchase something, and I'm going to make sure it's a pure Windows 8 experience so I could get I could have an unbiased opinion on it. You know, if I install Windows 8 on an older computer and I'm like, oh, this sucks, it's not really an accurate experience. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hey, I want to bring up one thing. I didn't see it in the show notes, John, but iTunes 11 came out yesterday. Eric, did you upgrade?
After being delayed.
Did you upgrade to iTunes 11?
No, I've been through enough botched iTunes upgrades that I thought I will wait for the 0.1.
I have to tell you, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. There's certain things that I like about it. I think it's a lot more uniform to the iOS experience and the Apple experience. So what you have on your tablet is what you have with iTunes 11 now. But I feel like I kind of want that side menu, and it doesn't have that anymore. You don't have that.
You're kidding.
No. Yeah,
they took out the whole left column?
The left column is gone.
Oh my God.
The only time you have a left column is when you go to playlist. That's the only time a left column exists. But if you want to go to iTunes Store, when you click on iTunes Store, it totally exits you from anything else. You're just in the store.
Wow. That's significant because, sort of the basis, I'm looking at the screenshots now, I didn't even realize this, the basis of most Apple software, sort of the Apple user interface that extended to iPhoto, iMovie, Aperture, everything Apple makes, the Finder, started in iTunes in, I think, 2001 with the first version of iTunes. And then every program Apple designed after that had visual user interface references to that iTunes design that they created years and years ago. So that's a big move for Apple if they're getting away from that.
Really big move. And I kind of like some features of it. I think it's a lot prettier looking. But there are times that I'm trying to do something that would make sense to me, and it doesn't exist. And I wonder if that's because I've been conditioned to do this with iTunes, or is it that I'm just going there because that's the most common sense thing to do, and it doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know. It's all right. I mean, I'm not blown away by it. I'm sure they're going to tweak it a little bit more.
You know what that sounds like to me?
What?
The same issue with Microsoft removing the Start orb.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess that's what's right. But I'll give you a perfect example. Okay, if I'm in the
Start orb.
When I'm in, and I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. When I'm in, let's say library, right? I can't see my purchase history. Like if I'm in library, I can't see okay, purchases made or whatever it is. The only time you can see your purchased music is when you go into store, you go into library, and you hit this little button here and it says purchased. And
I see. Now, if you wanted to, could you still create a smart playlist where the criteria is purchased?
I don't know. That's interesting. New smart playlist. Artists contain items. Select by.
Actually, that's probably what that list was that you were just showing on the screen. It probably is basically a smart playlist.
That is a smart playlist. Yeah, that's your purchase playlist. But you don't have access to this if you're. Let me see. If I go to playlist, okay. If I go to playlist, it's there, but it's a little confusing. I mean, I'm a little on it. The other thing that I was really surprised with, everybody praises iTunes Match, and I finally said, you know what, I'm going to try it. My MP3 library is pretty updated. Everything, the ID3 tags are all on the up and up. I deleted stuff that wasn't tagged properly. I've deleted stuff that was too low of a bit rate. and I ran it through the iTunes match thing that they do. Maybe 1/3 of my MP3s were matched. The rest wasn't. I mean, I have stuff here that's tagged perfectly fine, and it's still 128 kilobits.
Now, of the CDs that you like directly ripped as opposed to like an old 10-year-old Napster download, of the totally legitimate stuff that should work by every definition, how much of that matched? Because for me it was kind of low too.
It was low. It wasn't that high.
I mean, I've had I did this a couple of months ago, actually. Or I think it was in the summer. I finally tried iTunes Match after I sorted through some of my stuff, and eventually I was like, well, I'll just let it match and see how it does. And sometimes I was really surprised. I had really old, low-quality MP3s that were very poorly tagged, and it found them and identified them. But I had other things where I put in the actual CD and re-ripped it, and even tried re-ripping it on a different computer, and it can't find half the songs on the same album. And you look at the store, and it's right in the store, so it makes no sense.
The only thing that I could think of is that if it's a best of album or if it's a compilation album, it has a difficult time matching it. But I'll give you a perfect example. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Scar Tissue, which was the name. The album was Californication. I have a 128 kilobit version that I ripped myself. I have the entire album. It couldn't find it in the App Store. But I couldn't match it. But if I click on in the new thing, here, I'll show you this here. Let's go to camera 3. If I go to, there's a little tab here. If I click on the tab, it says, show an iTunes store. And it finds it in iTunes. And it tells me to buy it. And I don't understand why.
I don't like that gradient up at the top either.
Yeah.
How they changed around the Apple logo. It looks weird.
Suncast, what should I do? Should I just take the entire computer and
back to using Linux?
I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start using Red Hat 6 like it's 1999. Why don't you go into a story, John? Why don't you pick?
All right, let me pick a story here.
No, you know what you do. Sorry, John. You do a command line interface. You just directly access iTunes with the terminal.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to start doing. I'll be really happy with that.
So since we're talking about Apple, let's go into this Apple streaming music service story that we have here. An analyst says that Apple's streaming music service could debut in 2013. BTIG Research, I'm not sure who they really are. I've never really heard of them because there's, of course, a million analysts out there that all have a different take on things. But they're predicting that Apple could launch their streaming music service at some point in 2013.
They've said this every year since the beginning of iTunes.
Yeah. But in a way, to me, it seems like at this point, it's just one of those things that they could do to polish off iTunes and the iOS experience just a little bit more, especially now that we have all these other different streaming music services. Why wouldn't you have this added to iTunes?
I'm curious on how they would price something like this. I wonder, because they do have the capability of doing streaming. They have iTunes Radio, which is a feature that nobody uses. I don't know anybody that uses iTunes Radio.
They're thinking about calling this iRadio, is what they're saying.
I've always been surprised at how prominently the radio stations feature in both iTunes and the iPhone and the iPhone's new podcast application. It's like they put their stations, it's like 2 buttons at the bottom, right? And it's like podcasts and stations, like they're equivalent, and there's nothing on stations.
I know we're on iTunes Radio. We're on there, and we get virtually nothing from them. We get most of our, audio, live streaming audio from Stitcher and TuneIn and from our website. We get nothing from iTunes. We even get it from Windows Media Player. A lot from Windows Media Player. We don't get it from iTunes. So I'm baffled on that they buried this thing. I'm just curious on when it comes to streaming music, how they're going to structure something like this. How are they going to compete with RDO and Spotify and Pandora?
I just thought that's the worst indictment of all. We get more traffic from Windows Media Player.
I know.
We get more from Winamp.
Yeah, we get a lot from Winamp. We get a ton of traffic from Winamp because I was looking at the stats the other day, and iTunes was like 0.09% come from iTunes.
We get more traffic from Real Player.
Real Player, yeah.
Music Match.
If I had an RM file version of my show, it would probably get more than what we get on iTunes. But I mean,
we get more traffic from the final version ever made of SoundJam MP.
My God, that's going all the way back. But as a music fan, I have not bought into the subscription service for streaming music. I don't have a Pandora account. I mean, I listen to Pandora, obviously, but I don't pay for it. I tried Spotify, and I thought it was a complete waste for me. I kind of like what I like, and I like to play it when I want to play it. I don't know how Apple would do this. Would you, and I'll ask both of you, do you guys physically want the songs that you want to play, or are you fine with a streaming service like this, like a Pandora, where you say, okay, I like Billy Joel. The first couple songs are Billy Joel songs, and then it's just whatever they think you would like.
I'll quickly tell you my experience. I bought Pandora for 1 year and was not happy with it at all. I expected it would help me find a lot of new music, a lot of new artists that sound like old artists that I liked.
It didn't do it.
It didn't do that at all. It just showed me a lot of 90s artists and from the early 2000s. I'm like, I know these people. I don't want to hear more of that. I want new things that sound similar to that.
How about
it was terrible.
How about you, John? I'm just curious on this because I'm a big music fan, but I kind of feel the same way that Eric does on this, where it's a lot of the stuff that I know and a lot of stuff that I really don't want to hear at that moment.
I can see that point. Go ahead. You can go ahead and finish your thought.
Who? Oh, sorry. I meant to say
Eric.
You can only hit skip so many times. That's all I was going to say.
Well, I can get around with that because I think it was like 3 months ago I featured this program called Elpis, and it's basically a desktop client for Pandora. And you know what? Using that thing, I freaking love Pandora. I really do. I don't necessarily like using the Pandora website because of the limitations and whatnot. But with this Elpis program, which is freaking awesome, it has unlimited skips. It just has something built in, and it'll just do unlimited skipping, which is really nice. And I have a couple of stations that I've really set up nicely so it plays a bunch of artists that I like. Yeah, they aren't necessarily all new artists. Occasionally I'll get something new, and I think you're right on that point. But a lot of times, I don't necessarily feel like going and creating a playlist and figuring out what songs I want to listen to. In a way, there's two stations I like. I like the Today's Hits station. I don't necessarily have to, program anything. It just plays, and it'll play a lot of stuff that I do like, and it'll occasionally throw out whatever's new in top 40. And also, I have a station that's programmed for Skillet, which is a band I freaking love. They're a hard rock band, and it plays a bunch of similar artists like Skillet, like Flyleaf. And I love that. And I just, if I want to listen to top 40, I listen to Today's Hit station. If I want to hear some rock, I listen to my Skillet station, and I love it.
The only time that has really worked well for me is I put in, my wife was using it, and she goes, she put in Mumford & Sons because she's a big fan of theirs. And it recommended the Avett Brothers, which very similar sound, great band. And she was so happy because she discovered this new band. She really likes them. And that is the only time that it's ever worked. And I've used Pandora for a long time. Everything else is like bands that I know. Like I don't. How many
maybe
times,
it doesn't like you.
Maybe it doesn't like me. How many times is it going to recommend the Counting Crows to me? Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I just also wanted to say I'll also never be a music renter like for a subscription service because I just don't like enough music to justify buying music every month. And the stuff I do like, I want to hear in lossless quality, so I'll buy the CD or find it elsewhere. For me, it's about music discovery. And once I've discovered the things I like, I'll listen to it repeatedly on high quality.
Well, for me, music discovery-wise, the best place to discover music is on YouTube. And what I do, someone tells me about a band, I look it up on YouTube, I listen to maybe 4 or 5 of their songs. If I like it, I go and I buy it. And that's been the best way for me to discover music is word of mouth and just sampling it on YouTube.
And is it mostly independent artists, or you find like big label people on there?
Like I found, I'll bring up Mumford & Son again. Actually, We Are Augustines. Here's a great band. My friend's cousin is in the band. He does a show for us, Lunatic Radio here. His cousin is one of the main guys in the band, and he told me about it. I looked it up, and they're unbelievable. They were independent at this time. They were unbelievable, and I bought all their indie stuff, and now they're a huge band. They did Coachella, and they're touring the entire country, and I loved it. And I found what I liked. I bought it, and now I support the band. So it's good for discovery when it comes to that, and discovering, signed labels, signed bands also. So I don't know. It's funny. I don't know if these services like Pandora are great for new band discovery. I think it's just songs that you kind of know and the kind of things you're going to like.
Side note, I read an article recently that there's of the Oh, I thought my heat just turned on for some reason. Of the percentage of people alive today in the world, or maybe it's just the United States, there are fewer musicians per capita than ever before in history. And they say that the economy hit independent, non-signed, like local people that would just be performing at local bars and clubs and things and be paid by patronage to that club. Fewer than ever. So one of the people hardest hurt by all this has been musicians.
I think you're right, because I know a lot of my friends growing up, they had bands and they did pretty well. I have a buddy that did pretty decent. He did pretty decent with his band, and he just stopped because he wasn't getting paid from the bars. They weren't booking him. So I don't know.
Tough times.
Yeah. So why don't we go into it? This is a fascinating story, and this is something that I've been really interested in over the last couple of weeks. It's a late-breaking rumor. And I hope it's not true, but the rumor is that Intel's going to move to a non-upgradable desktop CPU with Broadwell, which is going to be their next generation CPU. And this is going to totally change the way people do CPU upgrades, which is going to be virtually impossible. How manufacturers buy these and use them. Now, I was talking to you, John, about this the other day on how it's going to work. It's a ball grid array for the pins, and the way that it sits is that the way that it's sitting, it's similar to the base grid, the LAN grid array that they've been using, but it's not really upgradable.
You read the articles about the difference between those arrays. Can you explain that to us?
Pretty much with BGA, ball grid array, it's soldered. Okay. So you can't remove it. There's no way. It's soldered onto the motherboard, so it's one unit. It's the motherboard and the chip. It comes together.
What's Intel's justification?
Well, it's going to be, they're saying it's going to require less power. So rather than being like 115 watts to power it, like some AMD chips are really hot. I mean, there were 120, 140 watts to power this thing. It's going to bring it down to like 25 watts. So it's going to be less power, less heat, better performance.
Because you have less heat loss, less energy loss, I assume?
But the fascinating thing to me is that Intel is going to be it's going to have control over the motherboard chipsets also. So if let's say you're going to go buy a unit. Now, I can see this working for mobile. I can see this working really great for mobile, and someone like Apple will love this, where it's all there on one unit. But if I'm buying a desktop PC, there is no way I'm going to want to get something that's not upgradable at all. I build my PCs. So what am I going to do? I'm going to walk into a store and buy a Intel motherboard and chip? I'm just really fascinated on what this will do to the PC market, because this is a major, major change if it's true.
Here's the thought. Because there's been reports and analysts out for probably the past 6, 7, 8 months about how the market in the PC is dying. Where Intel, unless they start really doing this stuff with mobile, that they're not really going to be relevant anymore, and all this other stuff. Could this possibly be some sort of way for them to maintain their market dominance and maintain their position in the market with CPUs by doing something like this?
Yeah, I mean, Eric, you built your own computers. I've done it too. The only person that I can see benefiting from something like this is AMD. And this may be the saving grace for this company. They're getting ready to file bankrupt. Apparently, they're not doing so great. They're not selling performance-wise. They are far behind what Intel is able to do. And I find this interesting because Intel has been a performance chipset at this point. The i7s are phenomenal. And when you go from this, we are the gamer's PC, we are performance, to, oh yeah, everything's going to be integrated and there's no upgradability, I don't know if that's something that I welcome or any of you would welcome.
The one caveat may be that I think for many factors, including even the fact that we'll eventually have to be paying more, I think, for energy, or to offset the cost of emissions and so forth, and climate change. It's interesting how power and power usage and battery life too have become the driving forces of upgrades instead of just raw computing power. So I think that's a trend we're going to continue to see.
Yeah, like one example is, the question is, well, how do they benefit from this, and how do we benefit? Well, the speculation is that they're going to have control over components on the motherboard, and how the motherboard is done with the PC manufacturers, and this benefits Intel because they could say, well, this is what we require for this chip, so they could get better performance, better battery life, obviously, for laptops and tablets.
But this, in a way, then kills an entire industry of custom builders.
I don't know if they're going to totally remove themselves from upgradability. I think the Broadwell chipset is going to be their mobile chipset, which I think
I
it's
can
great.
see how it has every benefit for Intel. It's like, all right, well, if you want to upgrade, you're going to have to buy a new CPU and a new motherboard from us. Well, if that's what you want to do. It's the same thing as Apple. If you want a new iPhone, you want a new tablet, you want a new iPad, well, you got to have to buy a whole new one.
Yeah, and here's a perfect example. I mean, with the new Macs, you can't change anything. You can't even upgrade the RAM.
Yeah.
And people are buying them. We're happy with them.
I'd rather have the ability to upgrade whatever it is that I want to do. You know, there's people out there that like to make systems their own, customize it to their needs. By doing this, I don't know that you could necessarily customize it in the same way.
I'm going back to breadboarding.
Yeah,
with the little wires going in and out, make the little light bulb turn on and off.
I don't know, man. It's bizarre to me that this is. I guess this is the future of devices. I think they're disposable devices. This is what it's come down to because it's cutting costs. A laptop now, you could buy a laptop for $399. If Intel puts together a pretty decent laptop, a thin laptop, great battery life, I bought it for $399. If it lasts me 3 years, guess what? I'm going to be like, well, it wasn't that expensive, so here we go. I'm going to go buy a new one. Disposability. That's the future of tech. You don't fix them. You don't hang on to these devices for 10 years anymore. You buy them and you throw them out.
If you're going with what Ericsson's saying about how they're trying to do this all for the climate and energy efficiency, well, then that kind of rules it out because then you're just making more electronic waste by doing disposable electronics. Because every 2 years you're buying a new electronic device and throwing the other one away. Well, I don't think we're anywhere near the point of electronic recycling that we should be.
It's like the solder.
I think there's so much waste.
It's like how they changed solder the metal because before they had lead in them and now they don't.
Yeah.
But they don't hold like they used to. So it's the devices are malfunctioning more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's not the grip isn't as strong because it doesn't have the lead. They did it because it was hurting the people in the factories and the fumes were no good from it and it wasn't environmentally safe. But the solder points are not as strong as they used to be.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that in any way related to how Apple got criticized for using excessive amounts of glue in their recent products?
I don't know.
See that?
No, I guess they use the glues because they don't want you to open it. They're just that stuff.
I don't know. But there was, I think it was iFixit, that website that does the teardowns that was heavily criticizing Apple for their reckless use of glue.
Reckless. That reckless company. Shoppers spent a record $1 billion online on Black Friday. This is up 26% from last year's Black Friday sales. Not surprised. We're going to see this number go up higher and higher and higher every single year because we're getting more comfortable with purchasing stuff online, and the older generation is dying, and it's only young people that are existing in this world. I'm being sarcastic right now, so I get a lot of messages like, I can't believe you said that. I can't tell if you're joking or if you're serious. If I'm saying old people are dying and the younger generation is here only, there's a problem there.
We need to have a rim shop every time you make a joke.
Every time I make a joke, yeah. Not surprised. Great numbers. $1 billion considering we're in a pretty crappy economy. Also, Cyber Monday was crowned the biggest web shopping day in U.S. history. Cyber Monday figures were nearly at $1.5 billion. And IBM, which did the stats for this, I believe there was a jump of 30% over last year as mobile spending surged 70% this year. So people are spending money.
I wonder, how is Cyber Monday still relevant? I mean, it can't be that people are waiting until they get back to work on Monday to use their high-powered T1 lines.
Yeah, that's fascinating, right? I guess how is it still relevant? I guess it's a gimmick at this point. And also, Black Friday is Thursday night after you eat your dinner, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Then you have Cyber Monday.
Oh, I was getting email flyers on the Monday before Thanksgiving saying Black Friday starts today.
Tiger Direct, I'm guessing.
No, actually, I forget what it was.
Newegg and Tiger Direct are just awful with that stuff. You'll get like every 2 hours, you'll get an update saying Black Friday deals. One thing that I I was curious about, and I was wondering how the sales were going to be, and apparently they sold great, was a Nintendo Wii over the season because they released, I believe, a week prior to Black Friday, I believe on the 18th, and they're saying they're selling really well.
The Wii or the Wii U?
The Wii U. I apologize. The Wii U.
They just launched that a week before Thanksgiving, and they said that they sold about 400,000 units.
400,000 units. And Sony put out a record number that on Black Friday they sold 500,000 PlayStation 3s, which I was blown away by.
That's a good example, I suspect, because I can't imagine that there were very big discounts, Black Friday discounts for such common items like that are rarely discounted and that have big MSRP prices set by the manufacturers. I doubt they were deeply discounted. What?
I believe Best Buy had one which was a bundle for $179 bundle.
Okay, that's interesting. Because what I was going to say was it's probably more an example when you see figures like that of once you get the customers in the store for those Black Friday bait and switch deals, they will continue to shop for other people in their lives for Christmas and for other things, and they'll buy the rest of their needs while they're already in the store.
Yeah, I believe right now at Best Buy it's $249 for a PlayStation 3, and I believe it was $199, not $179, $199. So they knocked $50 off the price. Not bad. I mean, it's a DVD, it's a Blu-ray player, so I guess a lot of people went in with that expectation, like, you know what, I'm buying it. It's a Blu-ray player. The kids will play too, and we'll all be happy. But
I think that was the big thing this year for Black Friday and Cyber Monday was Blu-ray players.
I don't know how that's still relevant. I don't know who's buying Blu-ray players still.
People that don't have one yet.
I don't know, but you know what I would rather have? And we had this discussion with Paul on What the Tech, and a lot of people got angry. We had a discussion about cloud computing, and we started talking about your movies on the cloud and streaming services over having the physical media and having the Blu-ray. And I said, well, some people actually want the 1080p high-quality Blu-ray disc to watch the show. Like, I'll give you an example. I buy, I'm going to get, I guess Dark Knight is out, the last Batman, and Dark Knight Rises. I have Dark Knight on Blu-ray, and we watched it on Blu-ray with the PlayStation 3 on a 1080p TV, and it was phenomenal. I had the surround sound going. Everything was on. It looked unbelievable. How different would my experience have been if I was streaming that over a service like Netflix? Or if I downloaded it, I downloaded the version on iTunes and I watched it on my Apple TV. How different would my experience have been? And wouldn't have been to the point that I would have said, oh, wow, I could see this?
I think it actually would be quite different. From what I've seen, even iTunes does not yet match the level of special features and navigation features and commentaries and things like that even standard def DVDs have offered for years now. At the same time, I've seen hugely differing qualities of Blu-rays and high definition transfers and up conversions and scans of even current films. Grain is one issue. If you have a film that either by choice of film stock or by choice of aesthetic has a very grainy image, that will be destroyed over web compression, and you have to see that on the Blu-ray. But if you have some that are very clean, especially if it was shot digitally and already had noise removed at the studio, they can look quite good over the internet. It all comes down to the bit rate. It's like a 50 megabit per second because it's full of grain and full of high detail. Then I would say get the Blu-ray and get the special features and all that stuff. But if it's just a typical, it's a comedy or something, then yeah, streaming's probably going to do just fine.
Suncast just sent me an interesting link. Ars Technica has a comparison between Apple's, HD versus Blu-ray 1080p. And, I could see it, but I'm not really, wow, I can't, well, you know what? It's almost there.
It's close.
I see the stuff.
I mean, there's, you when you actually see the screenshots and you actually do an actual comparison side by side, and you see the still images, you can see that there's definitely a quality difference.
But I mean,
you have to know what to look. You have to know what to look for. It's the same with music. It's unfortunate that once you learn what to look for, you can never unsee it. So I always see.
But Eric, you're like us. We're very similar with this stuff, and we're crazy about, I could see compression in certain things. Up till recently, my wife couldn't tell the difference between a DVD and HD. She could not see it.
Man, come on.
But most people can't. That's my point. Most people have no idea. Do you know how many people's houses that I've gone to and like, look, doesn't a picture look great? They're watching the game and it's on standard def. And I'm like, this isn't high def. And I put on high def and they're like, wow, I guess it looks better.
You guess?
And I want to hit them over the head with something. I mean, that's the point that I reach. But I think for most people, if they have the option to stream it, if I could get a little Roku box and I could watch all my stuff on there, or I could get a Blu-ray disc and have the disc, I don't think they're going to see the difference. I think it's cool to have the physical media, but I don't know if most people actually see a difference.
It's amazing. I think there's got to be some difference in how individuals perceive minor details and what bothers them and what they notice. Because I mean, I've seen people have just look at a picture that is just destroyed over like standard def cable, just full of macro blocks and noise, and they don't see a thing. And I can't even watch it. It's so bad. Yeah. So it's got to be a part of what to know to look for and experience with video compression and the artifacts and what to find and what to look for critically. But also, I think some people just don't notice fine details.
I went over to my mother-in-law's house the other day, and they were watching TV. And I noticed that everything is standard def and everything is stretched to fit the screen. And I told her, I'm like, you're stretching the video. She's like, no, I don't see it. I'm like, this isn't high def. I'm like, Jerry Seinfeld's face is twice the size that it's supposed to be. She goes, yeah, but I don't like the black bars. I'm like, okay, you don't like the black bars, but look at it in high def, because they do some upscaling on some of the channels. Like Seinfeld, for example, isn't going to be high def, but they're upscaling it. And it does look a little better. And I showed it to her. I'm like, look, do you see a difference here? She's like, no, I don't see a difference. I'm like, okay, here. The game was on. Giants game was on. Put on standard def. Everything is stretched out. Looks awful. Has black bars on the top. I put on the HD channel. She's like, no, don't see a difference.
Oh, come on.
That's when you say, can I just have your TV?
Okay, you know what? I'm going to bring you an old JVC CRT. I'm going to put it here. I'm just going to take the 60-inch flat screen off the wall because you can't have it anymore.
I'll do you a favor.
I got one in the basement.
Yeah. I actually do have an old school JVC in my basement. That's funny. Windows 8 sales, to kind of move on a little bit and to go on to another topic. Windows 8 sales, Windows 8 launch, PC sales have dropped by 21%. Windows 8 is not exactly lighting the fire under the PC market, according to NDP. U.S. sales for Windows devices during the initial 4-week launch of Windows 8 dropped 21% compared to a year prior. Not good. Why? I'm surprised. I know the economy's bad, but I would imagine with a large, initial launch for the future of Windows, you would see people jumping out to buy it. During the 4 weeks,
they are.
Now, let me
Some of the
just say
articles that I said say that the sales, the comparison of Windows 7's launch sales compared to Windows 8 are roughly the same.
Well, you know what's fascinating here? I'll tell you something. During the 4-week period of its debut, Windows 8 accounted for only 58% of all Windows device sales. I don't understand that. That number is proved to be quite lower than 83% that Windows 7 was during its initial 4 weeks.
So what are they buying?
That's what I'm wondering. I don't understand that.
I assume that means that it's a manufacturer decision, that manufacturers are choosing Windows 7 over Windows 8 for what to preload?
I don't know. That's what I couldn't understand, because I remember when Windows 7 happened, they took all these devices off the shelves and just put Windows 7, from Vista to Windows 7 on them. I would imagine they would have done the same with Windows 8, where they wouldn't have sold any Windows 7 devices. But because there are specific things like your trackpad has to meet a certain requirement, the requirements are a lot stricter when it comes to the hardware for Windows 8. I wonder if they just kept the Windows 7 devices, the old ones, and they sold them side by side and just lowered the price.
Where does that requirement for things like the trackpad accuracy, does that come directly from Microsoft? Like they will not certify your laptop for Windows 8 unless it has a certain quality of trackpad?
Yeah. I think it's like 5-point touch, which it's quite necessary. You got to.
And a lot of Windows laptops and netbooks are bargain basement products. So I mean, it could just be cost like that. Keep the cost down, hardware cost down.
But I'm really curious that on this number and what actually sold. Are they adding Windows RT in this? Like Windows device sales, does that mean Windows Phone? Does that mean Windows RT? Does that mean Windows 7? I'm curious to know that, but Are you surprised by that, John? That only 58% of all Windows device sales were Windows 8 devices during the 4 weeks that it debuted?
Not really. I mean, considering that you only had, a limited amount of actual Windows 8 PCs to choose from. You only had maybe 6 or 7 at most, compared to every other laptop that's been out on the market with Windows 7 for the past 3 years.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's also a price issue. People don't have a whole lot of spending money right now, and they go to the store and they see that the latest, greatest, and best hardware has Windows 8, but the cheaper clearance item has Windows 7. They might just go with that.
Yeah, I mean, interesting to me that the sales have been bad. I mean, listen, I think this is the first time since there's been a Windows launch that I didn't go out and buy a laptop. So I don't know how that reflects the rest of the market. They're saying that a lot of the reason why is because they had a lot of leftover inventory from back to school that didn't sell. So a lot of those devices were selling during a time period for a lower cost. But I thought that you have to have the newer stuff on there.
And you would think that Microsoft would want people to upgrade for various reasons. You'd think that they would say to Acer or whomever to say, "Hey, here's a free copy. We just want to make sure people are running the latest version of the OS."
Or they could have said, "Hey, listen, I know that you have leftover inventory, but we're going to give you more of an incentive to sell the Windows 8 devices, so push the Windows 8 devices."
I don't think they're even doing that, quite frankly, because I've been in Best Buy a couple of times since October, and you know what? I really don't even know that they even have Windows 8 PCs there, to be honest. Like, there's not like a section set up specifically for Windows 8 devices. They make a big push for like mobile devices and tablets, but like laptops and PCs are kind of more tucked away in a different section and not really in front of you when you walk in the store, and they don't really have a section that says Windows 8 devices.
Well, Best Buy is selling food at this point. I think they're just trying to come up with...
They're selling furniture is what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, that store is going to be gone soon. What was Best Buy? It's like Circuit City. So, I don't know. But I found it interesting. Also, another story. We mentioned the Wii U. Nintendo, which I found this fascinating, they are making a Wii Mini, and it's exclusive to Canada. A smaller version of the Wii that's going to be selling for $100. It's going to be debuting December 7th. Weird, right?
Has anyone ever heard of a Canada exclusive?
A Canada exclusive
device? I mean, it can't be that large of a market.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder why they came up with this device. I'm just curious on that. For $100, they're putting a Wii Mini on it. I guess it's a smaller size Wii. That's all it is.
It almost seems to me like they tried to make Canada a small test market, like companies have done historically with like certain states or rural areas, and to try to keep it quiet, keep the lid on it. Don't tell everybody that we've even made this experimental product. But you can't do that in this day and age. So of course everyone reported on it, and I hope that they would manufacture this in a big way, because hey, if they end up selling these things for $100, and for $100 I can play the latest Mario game rather than for $350 or whatever the regular Wii U goes for, I might buy that if they eventually have that.
But I don't know if it's going to be backwards compatible. I don't think they're creating the games anymore for the Wii. So you're kind of stuck with the old platform.
What do you mean?
Like, you can't buy the latest Mario and play it on the Wii.
Right.
It's only for the Wii U.
Oh. I'm an idiot. I'm such an idiot. I thought this was a Wii U Mini.
No. It's a Wii Mini.
Never mind.
Yeah, sorry.
I need to read.
Yo, it's a Wii Mini. I wouldn't mind a Wii U Mini. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Okay, I changed my opinion entirely then. If it's just a Wii Mini, I would say $100 is too expensive. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
I don't see what the purpose of this is when they just came out with a Wii U.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the problem is...
Oh, there's another thing called the Wii Mini.
Well, the issue with the
purpose
Wii...
of it? Like, I don't see where in the product line this fits, quite honestly.
I don't think you could buy a Wii U if you want it, right? Where can I buy it right now? I don't even think I could buy it. They're sold out everywhere. It's sold out everywhere. Oh, no, wait a minute. Walmart has it in stock.
And you only have to go through a frustrating one-day setup process.
Oh, I want this. Should I buy it
right
now?
For the Wii U.
Wait a minute. This is pretty cool. Walmart has it in stock. I could buy it. It says in stock.
What's
For
the
the
price?
Wii?
Like $329?
$389. It comes with 2 games. It comes with Zombie U and Mario, Super Mario
I
Brothers
would,
U.
if you're talking about the Wii U, I would not get it right now.
Why?
Because in that other story that you see there in the notes, there's been a lot of frustration over the Wii U and the setup process for it.
Go into it.
I don't know all of the details, but from what I understand is that when the Wii U launched, it was not complete whatsoever. And as soon as you got this, you had to install a compulsory patch that took an hour to download it and install before you could actually use the new Wii U that you just paid $300 for. So in between, it's not only that, but there's like missing features that they said would come with the Wii U, but it doesn't quite have yet. And they're saying that it'll come with further patches throughout the year.
Yeah, I think I want to buy this. I think I'm going to buy it.
I would say
if you're looking, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you know that, Andrew, that you want to buy one eventually, then I would say, yeah, if it's in stock, grab it now while you can. But I would not buy it for $400 because, I mean, a new Zelda game at this point for like by the time you get into that kind of price, I think Nintendo is, when you have to start making all kinds of corporate apologies, I think that's not a good sign.
So right now, I selected the one I want because there's an 8 gig and a 32 gig version of this thing, and the 32 gig version it's $50 more. So if I'm selecting the 8 gig, for example, and I select Mario, and I select the controller, I'm at about $400. So the $299 device becomes $400.
What the hell? Throw in a balance board while you're at it.
Yeah, let's throw in a balance board. And why don't we get a Wii U microphone also?
It's called upsell, baby.
Yeah, it's interesting how they're upselling you left and right with this thing. So I don't know. It's a cool device. I'm surprised to see it in stock because they were saying that you're not even going to be able to get this thing for 6 weeks. Interesting.
Well, I think a lot of it is due to the fact that, they launched it, but now everybody's finding out that there's so many issues with it and it's not even feature complete.
Yeah.
Like they launched a beta product. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah,
it's like, why would you launch something that isn't even complete? Like you have features that you say, oh, yeah. Sometime throughout the year, we're going to release a patch that'll add this feature that we don't have finished yet.
I'm surprised.
And it's also...
Go ahead, Eric.
It's also a bad sign that when they Nintendo's, it doesn't say his title. I assume he's like a president of something. Company president said he's very sorry. Feels users should be able to use the full products out of the box. And he said users should be able to use the...
Go ahead. Sorry, that was me.
Oh, that was me. And then he said, don't worry, we'll have new Mario and Zelda games as soon as we figure out how to produce games that utilize the console's hardware.
What a bad thing to say.
It's a horrible thing to say. We don't even know how to use our own console hardware yet, let alone how to release a product without horribly painful updates or keep it in stock or manufacture it to demand. And then to say, well, don't worry, by the time all this is over, the one saving grace will be a new addition to the 30-year-old franchises.
I'm looking here at their lineup. So they only have 16 games right now. There's only 16 games that are out, and not all of them are Wii exclusive. So you have Super Mario, obviously Nintendo Land, and the rest are just console games for everything.
And by next year, that number may be up to 18.
And Zombie U, they have Zombie U.
Well, next year is only a couple of months away, so
yeah. So
is Zombie U related to Call of Duty Black Ops, or is it totally different?
I think it's totally different.
Okay.
Yeah. The guy's in
sounds like Zombie University.
Zombie U. Get your higher education at Zombie U. It's like Phoenix. You can just do it online. Why don't we do our picks of the week, guys, and we'll wrap it up. Who wants to go first this week?
Zombie U, where we grow your brains.
So my pick of the week is I got an iPhone 5 recently, and I've been shopping for cases, and right here I have the Spec candy shell grip case. They have a couple different versions of this. This is the grip case. They have one without the grip on it, but I actually prefer the ones with the grip because it adds a nice little aesthetic appeal to it. Plus, it's a little bit easier to grip, and if it does fall, it actually does kind of give you the sense of there's going to be a little bit more protection to it. On the inside of it, it's all rubberized, which is really nice, so it's not going to damage your new iPhone. I just got one, and I don't want anything to happen to this. And I've tried a couple different cases, and so far, This one is my favorite. So I'm going to go ahead and put my iPhone in it so that I can give you an overview of all the different features of this case. And it's very easy to put in. Of course, you want to put in the case with your buttons going in first. That's the easiest way, and it's really easy. It just basically snaps right on in, and that's about all there is to it in putting it in. It looks nice. It has a lipper on it, which is definitely something that you want to look for when you are looking for a case, because if you do happen to drop it or set it down on a surface, your screen will not make contact with the surface. So that's a very good feature. Some people say that because of this hardness on here and this smooth surface that it's easy to scratch. I've had this for a couple of weeks now and I really haven't noticed that. But then again, I have been taking very good care of this. Like I said, the grip is really nice because it offers a little bit easier grip when you're actually holding this in your hand. It has a covered power button, which is really nice. I've had some cases where the power button was so stiff that I couldn't even press the power button. This is really easy. I'll show you here real quick. I mean, it's so super easy. It also has covered buttons for your volume keys as well, and a cutout for your silence button. You also have a cutout here, of course, for your camera and the flash. And on the bottom here, I'll show you that real quick. You have your headphone jack and your lightning port cutouts as well. For the headphone, you do want to be a little bit careful because the way this is all kind of covered, which is in a way I prefer instead of it having all cut out. If you have a larger headphone jack, it might not necessarily fit just as well as something that's a little bit smaller. So that is something that you want to be careful of. It does have cutouts here at the bottom as well for the speakers, which is really nice. It doesn't impede it whatsoever. It sounds great even with the case on there. And that is the Spec Candy Shell Grip Case. It looks awesome. I really like this. It's only like $20 right now on Amazon, which is less than what I paid for it 2 weeks ago.
I see Eric is holding up one too.
Yeah, I have a similar endorsement for the Spec. I have a freebie Spec case I got at CES a few years ago, so it is a different model and it's for the iPhone 4. But I've, it's been my case of choice, even though it was free. It's like a second skin for the iPhone. It's a very snug fit. Like you said, the buttons are very responsive, and also like you said, the headphone jack is too small. It doesn't fit a lot of headphones don't fit in there. But beyond that, it's great, and it does provide that little bit of a cushion lip around the screen that is probably all you need to prevent it from dropping onto like a hard concrete surface, for instance.
Yeah, I'm actually
even if you're just setting it down on your desk with the screen down, it'll protect it.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very, very cool. And that was your pick. That was Suncast pick of the week. I'm going to go next, and Eric will go last this week. I found this cool little app in the Mac App Store. It's called Kuva, and it changes your desktop wallpaper automatically every day. You could set it to daily. You could send it to popular or trending or favorites. It's in the App Store. It's totally free. And you could actually tell it, I want it to change every couple hours. I want it to be in dock, or I want it to be in the menu bar. But I actually like it, and the really nice, wallpapers that it's set to. Really trendy stuff, really cool stuff. I've used a couple of these on my phone, and it's always like a heart. It's something stupid. But the wallpapers that they select in here is really high quality and great looking. App is called Kuva. Kuva Wallpapers. It's in the Mac App Store, and it's free. And that's my pick of the week. Very simple, very easy.
That's cool. Yeah. Where do they get their wallpapers?
I don't know. I think people submit them. New artist every week, and surprise every time you start your desktop. The ability to skip forward, backwards. So if you don't like it, you could go to the next one, and it just does it automatically.
Just like Pandora.
Like Pandora. You could hit skip. Unlimited. Eric, what's your pick of the week?
All right, my pick of the week is not a piece of software, but it is a fine stocking stuffer for the geek or the nerd in your life who likes Monty Python, because my pick is the Blu-ray special edition of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I rented it. I ripped it using Make MKV, which is how you watch Blu-rays on a computer. It's the best way to do it. And full screen HD. The transfer of this film is stunning. I mean, this was made so long ago on such a shoestring budget, and it looks like it was shot yesterday on freaking IMAX. I mean, I don't know what they did. They brought out shadow detail and razor sharp details in the image that you've never seen before. I don't know what they did to the audio, but the audio is improved tremendously. You can toggle between the original soundtrack and the restored 5.1, and I don't know what they did, but it's like it was recorded yesterday. Again, like it brought out so much detail in the treble and the ability to understand the words and voices and things. Huge difference. This also has deleted scenes that have never before been seen by anybody. They went back to the original camera negatives and did high quality scans and restored full scenes with sound for both the live action and animations, if you're a fan of the animations. And they've presented here now for the first time that's anyone ever seen since the dailies that they watched during filming on location. So that's my pick. It's a one of the best Blu-ray transfers from an old source that I've ever seen, and I say it's a worthy upgrade even if you already have the standard def edition. So that's my pick: Monty Python and the Holy Grail Blu-ray Special Edition.
Very cool. I may buy this, and I may buy a Wii U right after the show.
That's why I say it's a great little stocking stuffer kind of gift, because it's like you can give it to someone that you know is a fan, and even if they don't realize that they need it now, they'll put it in the Blu-ray player and go, "Wow, this really is an upgrade." Thank you.
Right now on Amazon, it's $10.
Wow,
dirt cheap.
I almost didn't have to steal it.
Yeah, almost. If you missed any portion of the show, you could of course check it out on our website, guysfromqueens.com. For all things Eric Lanigan, follow him on Twitter at Eric Lanigan, at Suncast on Twitter for Suncast. Also, Suncast, Amadeus. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Amadeus, AMADAIS.com. It's my music blog website. I go on YouTube and I find artists out there that aren't well known. They're just people that post awesome covers of songs on their YouTube account. And I find like some of the really cool ones, and I handpick these and I put them on my blog.
Oh, handpicked by John. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Andrew Zarian. And subscribe to us, guys. I encourage you guys to subscribe to us. We're on iTunes. We're on Windows Marketplace. And pretty much anywhere else that MP podcasts are available, we're listed in there. So subscribe to us. It helps us out. And until next time, we'll see you all next week on Tech News Weekly. Good night, everybody.